birdhouses at Coffee Creek?
We're still working on that. We still have a little time to get that oriented. So I'm just going to interrupt for just a second, and oh, there goes my eyeballs, huh? Hello, Facebook people and everybody that's on Zoom with us. We are starting our monthly meeting, Dunes-Calumet Audubon Society. I'm Kim N., the president of Dunes-Calumet Audubon, and this is our monthly meeting, and we're very happy to have everyone join us today. Just a couple of meeting announcements. We're currently in our Climate Watch period, and that is ending February 15th. We are going to be joining Great Lakes Audubon at the Advocacy Day in the Indiana State House on January 30th, supporting wetland legislation. Another of our initiatives this spring include growing milkweed at the Great Lakes Science Center greenhouse at the end of February. Shorebird monitoring at Miller Beach, including a beach cleanup in April, May. If you're interested in any of these things, we're going to try and update the website so it gives you information for contacts. Mary Beth just reminded me that we are also going to be participating with bluebird box monitoring and also purple martin box monitoring at the Coffee Creek watershed property. So if you're interested in any of these, you can either put it in the chat or send an email, and we'll also put some information out on the website. Let's see, I've got a couple of other things to share with you today before we get started. One thing we wanted to let you know that we do have some openings in our bird walk this Saturday, January 21st. Be meeting Julie at 9 a.m. at Forsyth Park. Go on Eventbrite and you can do the registration for that. So we also have our winter social event is coming up on January 28th. A few more spots for that. $5 for members. Registration closes this Sunday. Lots of games, food, birding. So come on out for that. Our next program is going to be in February on the third Thursday, and it's Alex Ross, who's produced a book about the birds at the Highland Rookery. He's going to talk about how it came about that he published his first book. And for those of you who have been out to the Highland Rookery, there's a lot of good birds out there. Also, you can still order merchandise. I'm sporting my Dunes-Calumet Audubon sweatshirt that I got at Threadless. There's a link for that. And we still are available to, you can shop with Amazon Smile. That's smile.amazon.com until the end of February. Amazon has announced that they are going to be terminating that program at the end of February. We have been able to receive some funding from them in this past year that we were very thankful for. So get your last sales in for that and make a donation to Dunes-Calumet Audubon. So so the next thing I want to do is I'm so excited about our speaker today for our monthly program, and I thank Matt Kawasinski for setting this up. Kirstin Hill is from the Smithsonian Institute. She is the Bird Friendly Program Manager, and I'm sure she'll tell a little bit more about her organization and herself. But I love the title of this about bird friendly certified coffee, saving birds, conserving birds one cup at a time. From a person who does like to have her coffee every day, I'm sure this is going to give me a lot more things to think about and maybe some new action steps for me in the future. So Kirstin, I'm going to go ahead and get you on our screen sharing there, and you can take it away there.
Absolutely, sounds good. Thank you so much for that introduction there, and love the sweatshirt. Those you guys have some great swag there. Big fan of that. So I'm just going to pull up my talk here, and as we get started, hopefully everyone is able to see that okay. We just got a thumbs up if that's coming through for folks. hopefully.
Oh, and we just want to tell everybody, if you have a question as she's going along, write it in the chat or put it on the Facebook, and we'll monitor them and get those questions to Kirstin.
Absolutely, yeah. So as Kim had said in her introduction there, my name is Kirstin Hill. I'm the program manager for Smithsonian Bird Friendly, which is part of the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center. And I'm really excited to be chatting with you all here today about our flagship program, which centers around coffee, which I know, like many of you probably, I'm a big coffee drinker myself, and it's not something we always think about when we think about, you know, biodiversity conservation, but hopefully we'll have some interesting, you know, thoughts and things like that that come about through the talk today when considering how conservation intersects with our daily coffee habit. So to get started, I thought I'd kick off just by sharing a little bit about where we're from and kind of how we came into coffee. So as was mentioned in the introduction, we're part of the Smithsonian Institution at the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center. So the Smithsonian is a massive, massive entity. It's part of the world's largest, we are the world's largest museum and research complex, headquartered in Washington, D.C., and actually part of the United States federal government. Our Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center is actually housed within the National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute, which is in the Woodley Park area of Washington, D.C., if you've ever been. Our center itself was founded in 1991, although Smithsonian itself is much, much older than that, just celebrating its 175th birthday not long ago. And the mission of our center is the dedication to the understanding, conserving, and championing the grand phenomenon of bird migration. So there's lots of research that happens at the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center, but then it's also home to our bird-friendly coffee certification program. So why birds is a question that I know many of you probably don't ask yourselves as an Audubon Society, but some people do think, you know, hey, why do we pay attention to birds? And we really like this quote that is from a former board member of the National Zoo and tropical conservation biologist, Thomas Lovejoy, which is, if you take care of birds, you take care of most of the big environmental problems in the world, which is a nice way of summing up that birds are a really important indicator species. So if you have a healthy bird population, that means lots of other parts of that ecosystem are likely to be healthy as well. If your bird population is unhealthy, you might say the same about the full ecosystem. So that's kind of brings us to where we found ourselves in 2019. So we're going to kind of go back and forth in time a little bit here. So if we think back to 2019, when that study came out about the loss of 3 billion birds, 3 billion songbirds in North America since the 1970s. It was an astounding thing to think that 1 in 3 bird species had disappeared. 1 in 3 individual birds had disappeared. And when we looked at migratory birds in particular, we found that 2.5 of that nearly 3 billion birds were of this, you know, the migratory you know, kind of grouping when we think about those types of birds. So that includes, you know, 2 in 5 Baltimore Orioles and a total population loss of about 28%, which is pretty astounding. So a lot of this loss can be connected back to habitat loss and habitat destruction. So these birds just not having a place to live, to rest, to breed, and to feed. And that is kind of takes us back in the time machine a little bit as we think about how we found ourselves into coffee. So when we look at migratory birds in particular, we're really talking about an extraordinary diversity of habitat. So we've got kind of birds of two worlds as we think about it when we look at this kind of eBird you know, motion here. So the GIF kind of shows us that the species density that you see throughout the year really shifts dramatically throughout you know, from North America down into Central and South America as we complete the migratory cycle. So what that means when we think about habitat destruction is that you're needing to preserve habitat in a lot of different areas. So there are things that we in North America can be doing to protect habitat, but that's not necessarily going to guarantee the long-term survival of these birds because so many of them are going all the way down to Central and South America during their overwintering periods, and that's a really important and vulnerable habitat as well. So in the time machine, we go back in time to 1991. So we're actually a bit further than that. So what you're seeing here is the field notes from Russ Greenberg, who's in the bottom left corner there. So he is one of the founders of the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center, and while doing some research in Latin America, was noticing habitat loss, of course, in the late 1980s and 1990s. And part of what his observations came about led to the creation of the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center, and kind of saying, hey, we need to be doing things not just in North America, but all through North and South America and Central America in order to protect these species, because he's already seeing declines that we then later found to be, to be the truth, and in sort of the reports that we came out in 2019. So how this connects to coffee is Greenberg was kind of doing some observations, looking around, and what he noticed was that on coffee farms that maintained good shade over the coffee, so kind of maintained a lot of that forested area there, that they were supporting a significant number of birds, almost as much as what he was seeing in undisturbed forests. So that, in the long and the short, is how we ended up in coffee. So it wasn't necessarily a really strong passion for coffee itself. We're not coffee people at heart. We're actually ornithologists and researchers at our core. And the reason why we came into coffee is because what Greenberg found out, and what was later verified through additional research that was conducted through many of our colleagues in the ornithology world, inside and outside of Smithsonian, was that high quality habitat on coffee farms is what can make a difference for preserving overwintering grounds for migratory bird species. And that's kind of not just a North and South America thing, it's a global thing as well. So what you're seeing here is a map of coffee and biodiversity hotspots. So the areas you see in orange, that are areas that are high biodiversity areas. And you can see that they intersect quite a bit with a lot of those yellow pockets in there, which are the coffee growing regions of the world, the coffee hotspots as well. And the little bits of blue in there as well is a little teaser to some exciting things that we have coming around the bend very soon, which is cocoa growing regions as well. So when we think about where coffee is produced around the world and where the high biodiversity areas are, we see the conservation value of, if we can protect habitat on coffee farms, then we can do good things, not just for birds, but for biodiversity overall. And so that kind of was the foundation of the bird friendly certification program and sort of how it came to be. So when we think about coffee cultivation, coffee is the second most traded commodity globally. It's behind only oil. So there's a lot of coffee that moves around. There's a lot of coffee that's consumed. There's about 2 billion cups a day. So this is also a very high impact crop for us to be thinking about. The world's coffee fix isn't going to go away anytime soon. So if we can grow coffee sustainably, then we can do good things for the planet and for biodiversity as well. And when we think about what it means for coffee to be grown sustainably, kind of all you need to do is take a look at some of the different growing ways in which coffee can be grown. So when you look at the image on the left-hand side there, that is kind of the way that most coffee is unfortunately grown nowadays. About 75% of the world's coffee is grown like that image that you're seeing on the left. So that sun-grown coffee monoculture that, kind of leaves little or no space for wildlife. So that's an area where a lot of the forest has been clear cut, and then that coffee, those coffee plants, those coffee bushes have been planted out to really maximize the amount of coffee beans that can be produced per acre or hectare of land. Now, what you're seeing on the right-hand side is what we call a shade-grown coffee agroforestry system. So agroforestry, agriculture, forest, bringing them together. So that's the coffee growing system in which the coffee kind of grows underneath the shade of native trees in harmony with the forest. So it grows in the understory there. And this is actually the way that coffee was grown traditionally. So really, it wasn't until the 1970s that coffee started growing in that sun-grown monoculture way, where farmers started to convert their land to clear cut some of the trees in order to generate more coffee, and also to kind of combat an epidemic of coffee leaf rust, which was something that was affecting the coffee plants. But if it was exposed to more sun, then the rust was kind of burning off and was becoming less of a problem. So what you're kind of seeing here on the right hand side is more along the lines of the type of coffee agroforestry system that can provide really good habitat for birds while also growing the coffee itself in the understory. And that's the traditional way of growing coffee, where about 20, not quite 25% of the world's coffee has some space for wildlife, but might not be quite as robust as the system you're seeing there. But most of the world's coffee is grown in what you're seeing on the left. So what we realized is that we kind of need to increase the number of bird species. So we need to be supporting these shade-grown coffee agroforestry systems. And that is how the bird-friendly standard was born. So I'm going to pause for a moment. Let's take a quick drink of water as we get through here. So when we think about bird-friendly and what it means, so bird-friendly is, we're proud to say, the gold standard in biodiversity-friendly coffee. So what we do is certify land at the farm level that provides that really high quality habitat like you're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen there. So that shade-grown coffee agroforestry, that's actually a photo of a bird-friendly farm. So we've developed a set of criteria that look at the amount of shade that's produced or that's generated. We look at things like organic practices, and we have lots of other things that we'll talk about in just a moment that come together to create the bird-friendly system that allows habitat to remain on this land for birds, for other wildlife, while the coffee is still being grown. So we're a certification, so similar to what you would see as organic or fair trade, Rainforest Alliance, maybe ones you're familiar with. So we're a third-party entity that goes in, evaluates these farming systems for these set criteria, and then you get the bird-friendly stamp on your coffee, and that stamp follows the coffee through the supply chain all the way to your cafe or to your grocery store shelves to show and demonstrate that the coffee was grown in a way that is good for wildlife. So we have 100% product purity, which means that we don't allow for any blending. So every bean in a cup or a bag of bird-friendly certified coffee is grown in that way that's protecting habitat for birds and other wildlife. And cumulatively, we're protecting over 18,000 hectares of critical habitat in 13 countries, which are 12 coffee growing countries and 1 cocoa growing country right now. So how it works is we have certification at the farm, importer, and roaster level. So as I mentioned, that bird-friendly designation follows the coffee through the supply chain. When farmers are interested in becoming bird-friendly, if they're maintaining that high-quality habitat on their farm, if they're already certified as organic, what we do is kind of link them up with an inspector who will go out and perform an inspection to assess the criteria on their farm, to make sure that it's meeting our high standards for the bird-friendly program. And then if they kind of meet those markers, then they receive certification for a period of 3 years, and that allows them to sell their coffee as bird-friendly. At the importer and roaster level, we have licensing agreements in place that manage the handling of the coffee and have set rules in place to make sure that there's no blending, no contamination, and that the coffee remains pure throughout that supply chain, and allows these folks to kind of continue to use that bird-friendly logo and name to sell their coffee to interested consumers. So we have part of the incentive for this, and the reason kind of how it works is that growers can then ask their buyers to pay a premium, so to pay a little bit more for this bird-friendly designation, which then helps them get that financial incentive for maintaining that habitat on their land. We do collect a royalty, but not at the farm level. At the importer, we have a licensing fee that folks pay once every 5 years, and then at the roaster level, we do charge a 10-cent on the pound royalty to roasters for use of the bird-friendly logo and access to our full program. And those payments fund our SMBC research program and kind of what keeps the bird-friendly certification up to date and keeps that research going to make sure that we're continuing to remain the gold standard for biodiversity conservation in agroforestry and coffee and cocoa in particular. So I want to talk a little bit more about the types of things that we look for when we assess for certification. So one of the main things is that shade cover, that shade canopy. So what we require when we say gold standard, this is kind of what we mean. So we require a minimum shade cover of 40% after pruning season. So if you can imagine, you're standing in the middle of a bird-friendly coffee farm, you look straight up in the air, and about at least a minimum of 40% of what you're seeing is leaves, is that cover from the canopy, with about 60% or less, being able to see all the way up through to the sky. So it's a good amount of shade that our scientists have determined is going to provide that important habitat for birds and for migratory birds in particular. We also look for a canopy height of at least 12 meters. So we want to have nice tall trees that are up there. And while it's optional, we also look for different canopy layers as well. So we want to have usually 3 different types of strata of canopy layers that are part of the bird-friendly coffee farm. We also look at tree diversity. So we want to have at least 11 species of trees per farm. So we want to make sure that it's not just one singular tree that's dominating. So that diversity of trees is going to provide new and different opportunities for the wildlife that's utilizing that farm. So some might be better for foraging, might produce berries and things like that that make for good food sources. Others might have better cover for different birds. So those are things that we look for as well. And we also want to have over half, so 60% of the vegetation being native to that region. And the reason for that is that native trees and native vegetation support native insects, which have the native insects themselves. They tend to get better calories from the trees and the flora that they're kind of dining upon. That they get better calories, they become better nutrient sources effectively for the birds that consume them when they are dining on sort of those and eating those native, from the native trees themselves, versus a tree that's non-native to a region. It might be the equivalent of like eating, a bag of potato chips versus eating a nice healthy salad. It's going to be more nutrient dense for them to eat from the native trees. So other things that we look for within the habitat. So these are some of the things, most of these are recommendations that we have for bird-friendly farms. So they're not necessarily requirements, but things that we encourage our farmers to do. And if they're not meeting these marks, it doesn't mean that necessarily they won't become certified, but it'll just mean that we would, make some recommendations for them on how to improve their habitat. So that includes structural diversity. So I was talking about those different layers within the canopy that you're looking for. We also look for things like maintaining stumps and snags, so good hiding places for birds, good hiding places for the things that birds eat, that encourage that healthy ecosystem and allow for for that to remain on the farm. We also look for things like epiphytes, so things like ferns, orchids, and bromeliads that also add to the ecosystem writ large. And then things like riparian buffers. So if there's a stream or a creek, you want to make sure that there's a buffer there as well that helps prevent erosion, among other things. And then last but certainly not least, all of our farms are certified organic as well. So that means no artificial pesticides or fertilizers are ever used. And that's actually a prerequisite for becoming bird friendly. So often, if a farm or a producer network contacts us and says, hey, I'd like to become bird friendly, the very first thing we ask them is, are you currently certified as organic, or would you meet the criteria for organic certification? Because that can often be a multi-year process for producers. And that is something that we've looked into and have determined as a certification that is so important for biodiversity that it's a prerequisite that you can't become bird friendly unless you are already organic certified. So that takes us to sort of where we are as we enter into 2023. So at the bird-friendly level, we are at around 17,000 hectares that are protected, within the countries that we work. We work with a network of around 5,400 producers, which are each individual farmers that work within the producer networks that are part of our program. And cumulatively, these folks are producing around 37 million pounds of bird-friendly coffee each year. And the coffee is coming from 12 different countries, most of which are in Latin America, but we also have farms in Ethiopia, India, and, I always forget the last one. Ethiopia, India, and Thailand. That's the last one. I knew it would come to me in a moment. And then we are just getting ready to launch our bird-friendly cocoa certification, which will be, a whole new adventure for us. And that 13th country is the Dominican Republic. So that's where our first bird-friendly cocoa farms are being certified. They just received certification, and the new products are being created as we speak. So it's an exciting time for our program indeed. So when we think about sort of what this ultimately means for birds, so we have all these criteria, all of this, this thought that went into creating the bird-friendly certification and all this land that's currently, being certified. But what does it actually mean for birds? How does this translate? One of my favorite stats from our program is that actually 1 in 10 bird species globally utilizes habitat on or near a bird-friendly certified farm, which is pretty remarkable. When we look at the differences between what it means for, from that sun-grown monoculture, if you think back to that image we looked at, that can support about 61 bird species from the field work that we did in Peru. When we look at habitat that maintains some shade, but maybe not complete bird-friendly shade, that can retain an additional, few species, so up to 79 species. But then when we look at what a bird-friendly shade-grown coffee agroforestry system can support, that's 243 bird species. It's exponentially, more than what you're seeing at these partial shade or sun-grown levels. So there's this really incredible impact that that can be had when you maintain this this habitat within the coffee farms. So that's what we are really excited about. And that's kind of what we hang our hat on. That we have this really strict criteria. Not everyone meets it, but those who do are doing remarkable things for bird conservation. But it's not just the birds that are benefiting from bird-friendly certified coffee, it's the wildlife and the people too. So when we think about the broader picture, so the full kind of biodiversity picture of what benefits from a bird-friendly certified farm, we're seeing, we've had studies that have proven that bird-friendly certified farms can support better habitat for amphibians and small mammals as well. So again, we think back to birds being a great indicator of a healthy ecosystem. Things that are good for birds are also good for these other animals too. Bird-friendly farms are also better for the climate, better for the environment in that sense. So they tend to be more resilient when coming up against some of the climate, extremes that we see that are associated with climate change. So in the event of a severe rainstorm, for instance, all the trees that are there are the root systems that are built into the farm are going to do a better job at kind of retaining that soil to prevent things like washouts and landslides. When we have severe heat events, things like that. The shade that's provided by the trees as well over the coffee crop means that farmers are less likely to lose their crop due to it kind of burning up, getting too hot, things like that, because the shade keeps that cool temperature, or temperature a little bit cooler than it would be grown completely in the sun there. These farms also tend to have better soil fertility and moisture because of all the things that are retained. So those stumps, those snags, all the plant diversity that's in there, those are adding to healthy soil. And also sequestering carbon as well. So when you think of trees, they're these big carbon sinks that are capturing the carbon from the atmosphere, drawing it back down into the soil. So the more trees that are kept on these habitats, the better it is in the fight against climate change. So good for the farmers in that sense that they're resilient, then also better for the climate and for all of us as well. And many of our farmers also choose to plant some native fruit trees and wood trees, things like that, so they can actually earn additional income through the sale of things like mango, papaya, things like that, that are fruit trees that can grow over the coffee crop that can add to their income and kind of diversify what it is they're doing. So if it's not a good year for coffee for one reason or another, they've got additional sources of income that they can rely upon. And when we think about sort of what it means to be bird-friendly certified versus some of the other common certifications, we came up with this little kind of handy chart to help kind of talk about some of these differences. So these may be some certifications, and then the last one, shade grown, just a term that you may have heard. So when we think about sort of what this looks like and what it means for shade cover, so we strictly regulate at that 40% shade cover within the bird-friendly program. When we look at Rainforest Alliance, it's an optional part of their certification, so farmers can elect to report on that, but there's no strict criteria about the amount of trees or excuse me, the shade cover that's present on the farm. And then when we look at fair trade and organic, these are not things that these two certifications really focus on or look at. So it's not mentioned at all. And then shade grown is sort of a bit of a greenwashed term, unfortunately, where it doesn't necessarily have a set definition. It's just a term that folks tend to use that can mean anything from just like 1 or 2 trees that are kept on the farm but aren't really doing too much for biodiversity, all the way up through those phenomenal agroforestry systems where you can hardly tell where the coffee is actually being grown because it blends in so seamlessly with the forest. So kind of just looking at the differences there in what these these different criteria and terms really look like. Then when we think about pesticide regulation, bird friendly, as you mentioned, also certified as organic, so there's no synthetic pesticides or fertilizers used. Rainforest Alliance allows for limited pesticides within their products. For fair trade, it's optional to report on this, so there are some fair trade folks that are organic, similar with Rainforest Alliance, but it's not anything that's necessarily regulated. Organic, same as bird friendly, nothing allowed. And then shade grown, again, since it's just kind of a common term without a set definition, it's not something that's regulated. And lastly, when we look at biodiversity protection, bird friendly, we know all farms can provide habitat for a diverse community of birds and other wildlife, including especially small mammals, insects, and amphibians. For Rainforest Alliance, there are some farms that provide some habitat for birds and other wildlife, but they don't really work on preserving the trees despite their name, which is kind of funny. For fair trade, it's not necessarily, again, their focus is more on making sure that the price paid to farmers for the crops that they're producing is a fair and sustainable one. And so in that sense, they don't really focus on regulations, having them in place to help birds or other wildlife. So not part of their kind of bailiwick there. For organic, there's biodiversity benefits that absolutely come from the chemical restrictions, but you could have an organic farm that is complete sun-grown monoculture, so with no trees at all, but they're still meeting that organic standard. And then for shade grown, again, we have some farms that might be providing some habitat, but there's no guarantees in place. So if you're looking for sort of the guaranteed shade grown, that's where you want to kind of be looking for that bird-friendly logo. And then when we think about sort of the, what we're getting in return for maintaining all these birds on our habitat and kind of what that all looks like, it's the ecosystem services that farmers are receiving as well from the birds. So it is, if you think about it, like a symbiotic relationship between the farmers and the birds themselves. So the birds are providing ecosystem services like pollination and seed dispersal. Oops, sorry, head there. They're also helping out with some pest control. So by kind of consuming these, the insects, rodents, things like that, they're helping keep those things down on the farm, allowing for better control for the, for the farmers, less intensive work that they have to do to maintain, pest control regimens because the birds are doing those jobs for them. And in one case in particular, there's a problem in coffee, known as a problematic insect in coffee, I should say, known as the coffee berry borer, which is a type of insect that actually bores into the coffee cherry and kind of destroys the bean itself, and really doesn't allow for the bean to mature, or for the coffee cherry to mature and kind of be eventually picked and roasted, hulled, roasted, sold, all those things. So the berry borer has been a significant problem, but these 3 birds, have done a phenomenal job in Jamaica of kind of taking care of that coffee berry borer problem. So the prairie warbler, the black-throated blue warbler, and the American redstart here together have comprised about 50% of predation on coffee berry borers. So they're doing a great job of kind of keeping that pesky insect in check for the coffee farmers, which I thought was pretty cool. So we've been talking a lot about what's happening at the farm level. How about at the producer level? Later in the supply chain. So many of you may be thinking to yourselves, like, this all sounds really great, but I've never actually seen it in person. It's not at my grocery store. I don't know where to find it. How have I not heard about this? If you're thinking that, you are definitely not alone. So we as the program have been focused really significantly on getting things going at the farm level for probably the first 15 years of our certification's existence. So thinking back to, when we as a certification came about around the year 2000, the first 15 years was really dedicated to certifying farms, to building up this body of research, and to bringing folks into the program that were going to be dedicated bird-friendly coffee producers. And we didn't really pay too much attention to what was happening in the rest of the coffee industry and later down on the supply chain at the importer, roaster, and retailer level. So where we find ourselves now, about 8 years out from that, is we kind of realized in between 2015 and 2017, hey, we really need to be paying more attention to the roasters and retailers of this bird-friendly certified coffee, and really working to grow that, because right now we have more bird-friendly coffee that's being produced than what is being roasted and sold with that bird-friendly logo on it. So we're still dealing with that difference between supply and demand of bird-friendly. And one of the things that we recognized is really important is that folks just don't know what the certification means, or even that it exists at all. So we've been kind of doing many of these talks to groups like yours, where we kind of go out and just kind of talk about bird-friendly, about its benefits to birds and to biodiversity, and really try to close that gap. To make bird-friendly more accessible to folks, so that they know what it is, they know how to find it just by looking for that label. And then we're also working on the programmatic side as well, on getting more product available out to folks too. So we're bringing more coffee roasters into our program, getting them licensed and certified with us. And in turn, they're roasting and selling more coffee that is becoming, available in more and more stores in person, and then with lots of different points of sale online. So we've been kind of focusing our attention on this outreach, engagement, and marketing over the past, 5 years or so. And most recently, we've done some work with the zoo and aquarium world that's driving some of our engagement strategies, as we think about, getting in touch with communities who care about wildlife, which is by proxy a way that I reached you folks today, which is started with a connection through Lincoln Park Zoo, which led to Illinois Ornithological Society, and now here I am speaking with you all today. So we're just really excited to have these opportunities to speak with folks who are passionate about birds, who are many times coffee drinkers as well, and to kind of share opportunities to get involved with the bird-friendly program. So that comes to us here, and what we're doing today. So if you're sold, if you're interested in bird-friendly, if you are thinking that this is something that you would like to support, there are a few different ways for you to kind of join our movement, as we say. So one of the things you can do is just personally or within your household or business, make the switch to bird-friendly certified coffee. So if you visit drinkbirdfriendly.com, that's a shortcut URL to our website, which will show you all of the different places where you can purchase bird-friendly coffee, both online and in stores. So you can look there, see what's available in your region, or what you'd like to have sent to you in the mail. You can also, if you're looking around, and I know in Indiana we're a little bit sparse, is to maybe bring some new roasters into our program. So it's always helpful to request bird-friendly certified coffee from your favorite coffee roaster. So if you're looking at our list and you're saying, like this coffee shop I go to, I know I feel good about their sustainability and what they do. I would love for them to be on this list as a bird-friendly certified roaster, but they're not there. You can have that conversation with their, the roaster, the manager, just kind of say, hey, I'm interested in supporting bird-friendly coffee, and I would love it if you would do that. And all you have to do is kind of put them in touch with us. You can either send them to our website or send them directly to me, and I can kind of give them the rundown and get them all signed up. And then, of course, if you're already drinking bird-friendly coffee, we thank you so much for that. If you're a supporter of ours already, and you look for that certification logo whenever you're buying your coffee, we're really, really grateful for you and your support. And we're always looking for folks to help us spread the word. So, telling your friends and family about bird-friendly and kind of what you've learned this evening, or just kind of looking at other ways to kind of support and grow our bird-friendly community just by raising awareness. That's always a big help for us as a program. So with that, I just wanted to close with a little anecdote. So one of the things that I find is the most remarkable about our program is in those, if we think back to those, those warm kind of summer months, where maybe you're drinking an iced coffee in the morning, or it's, the spring or the fall, and, it's migration season, you're looking out your window, you're doing, looking at maybe your bird feeder, taking a walk through the park or on a bird walk, and you see a Baltimore Oriole, you see a yellow warbler, and you think to yourself, that individual bird is benefiting from the coffee that's in my cup right now. So if you're drinking a bird-friendly certified coffee, that bird that's living in your backyard, in your local parks during those warm weather months, during breeding season, is going to complete the migration cycle. And likely right now, in the dead of winter, they're overwintering down on these bird-friendly coffee farms and really benefiting from the choices that we're making here in North America. And I'm a conservation, psychology person at heart. That's kind of what makes me tick. I love conservation messaging. And for me, there's no conservation message that hits more to home than something like this, like bird-friendly coffee, where I can benefit, I can do something really positive for the animals that I see in my backyard during the warm weather months, and make sure that they have a place to go to when they complete that migratory cycle and head down to Central and South America when the weather gets chilly. So with that, I will just kind of close us out for now. If folks have questions, I think I see a couple coming through in the chat, but I don't know, Kim, if you like to pop back in and facilitate for us, if there's anything I can help speak to, I'm happy to do that at this time.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kirstin. Yeah, two of the comments that came through were two suggestions for coffee roasters, distributors. I don't know if that's something that you could check on. I've never looked them up. Wood Warbler Coffee here in Indiana, and also Birds and Bean Coffee. Do you know if each of those are certified?
They absolutely are. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you to the folks who put those in, to Todd and to Matt. I appreciate the suggestion there. To check those guys out. They are both really lovely, and yes, can vouch for them as members of our bird-friendly certification program.
And there was a comment that chart was very, very informative, because we see some of those logos in the grocery store, and now we understand what they mean a little bit more. So that was very helpful. Yes, I think this is very exciting, and I like the idea that this is an action that we can do to help birds and help the biodiversity of our planet. So I challenge everyone to go out there and check out your coffee. And now I'm wondering about my favorite coffee shops, whether or not they are offering that or not. So it's some things to think about. I don't know whether or not we have any questions off of our Facebook group, but I'm sure that Matt is going to be checking on that for us and see if there's anything else that questions of. Yeah, I'm very excited to go to the website to see other places that, maybe places that I go to visit on vacation, whether or not there are places there that offer bird-friendly certified coffee. It's very interesting about the percentage of shade canopy that is required for this certification. Someone said that Strack and Van Til used to sell a bird-friendly brand of coffee. So yeah, I think we're going to have to check our coffee sections out in our local grocery stores to see what is available. And maybe we'll try and see if we can't post some information maybe on our website as people find out information. Email it to Dunes-Calumet .org and let us know what you're finding. I mean, Dunes-Calumet at gmail.com is going to get us into our email address. So does there anybody else have any other questions for Kirstin? I think this is really interesting. And I'm excited about this cocoa thing from the Dominican Republic. When is the marketing going out on that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we are aiming for a Valentine's Day launch. So you can have you can buy your sweethearts, a cocoa product, chocolate product that you feel really good about. It is very high end chocolate too, so it's the good stuff. They're gonna know that you really care. So if you're interested, that you can look for that coming out through our bird friendly program too. We're working with the chocolatiers at Dandelion Chocolate, based out of California, as well as Rocca Chocolate out of New York. So if you're familiar with either of those folks, they'll be two of the companies that'll be launching the very first bird friendly certified chocolate products coming your way soon.
Sounds very exciting. Okay, let me see if there's anything more in our chat. And I think people have really enjoyed the presentation. I certainly have. And I want to thank you so much, Kirstin, for sharing that with us. And everyone else, I've got one last little promo here for us. Just in case you don't know, remember about the merchandise at Threadless. Last month or so for Amazon.smile. Our bird walk that's coming. Oh, I think, did we miss our? We might still be on Facebook, but I think maybe we had a little problem with our Zoom. I'm not really sure what's going on.
I can hear you on Zoom.
Oh, Kim, I think you might be muted now.
So Kim, we may have lost Kim here. Actually, what might have happened here. Seems like we lost our presenter Kim here. But I know what she was going to say is reminder this Saturday, board member Julie Bonema is giving her little bird walk meeting at Forsyth Park in Hammond, looking for wintering waterfowl. Spots are available. You can register via Eventbrite. And then we do have our winter social coming up on January 28th. There are a few spots available for that. Registration does close this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So hopefully, if you haven't thought about joining us at Gibson Woods on Saturday afternoon, January 28th, please do so. It should be a great time. Have a little fun there, play some games, talk about birds and so forth. But again, thank you for everyone for coming. We appreciate it. Kirstin, thank you again for the presentation. It was very informative. I'm a supporter of bird-friendly coffee. I think it's a great thing. Obviously, just by the numbers, the sheer numbers of birds seen in a true shade-grown coffee versus a sun is remarkable. So it's definitely worth the investment there. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and hopefully you can be on one of our field trips soon and join us in February for our next program. Thank you, everybody.